like to do today is kind of talk about this idea of validation, but it can get pretty mechanical because after you have a really great idea and it's validated, it solves some kind of a need, it gets a little mechanical. So I'll try not to go down the mechanical route as much and kind of give you some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way and some of the companies that I've been involved with. The most important part of entrepreneurship and figuring out that right idea is the beginning. And what I've seen is that the really successful companies and successful ideas are really more market in, or as David said, solve some kind of problem or some kind of need. And I've seen firsthand a lot of companies, and I've been involved with them, that have really been product out. You know, it's really I have a really cool idea, let's design it, and then let's go out and try to force it on the market. And let's see if we can get the market to kind of adapt to that. And interesting enough, where this really kind of took root in the way I do business and with the companies that I've been involved with on the startup side, is with analog devices. And analog back around the late 80s, early 90s, had grown the company tremendously to about $400 or $500 million. And market leader in a lot of the mixed signal areas and doing fairly well, but really had reached kind of a plateau on growth. And Ray Stata actually was the one that really drove this new thinking at Analog Devices of, up until that point, we had a lot of really smart engineers, and we were the market leaders, and we could come out with a 10-bit A to D converter, and then come out with a 12-bit that's a little bit faster and a little bit lower power, and we just kept kind of doing higher bits and coming out with chips, and the engineers kept popping them in the market. And then all of a sudden we got to the point where we had a portfolio of thousands of products and chips. Maybe only 20% of them were really making us money, but we just kept putting products out in the market and then figuring out where they go. He kind of took a step back and said, well, let's kind of look at it a little differently. Why don't we step back and take more of a market-in approach? So he tasked the engineers and the marketing people to actually go out into the industry and start defining kind of from the market side what we're going to do, rather than just pumping out the next fastest op amp or the next fastest A to D converter. And this is really a fundamental change, I think, in the company. And after that change, it kind of went from that $400 or $500 million to a $2 billion company. Went into all different kinds of new markets, found new needs, developed new businesses, new divisions. So, you know, that's really where I really saw firsthand the power of really market in rather than product out. So a couple of examples of product out. Kind of a technology in search of a problem. I think the first one is really RFID. And some of you maybe have followed the whole world of RFID. About 4 or 5 years ago, it was the hottest thing. I mean, it was Walmart and it was RFID, and we're going to put tags on everything, we're going to track everything, and money was thrown in. Hundreds of millions of dollars were thrown into companies that are going to go out and solve this retail RFID thing. The problem was that we kind of forgot to really define what the need was and what the problem was. I mean, it was a great technology, software-based radio, wonderful, developed by the military. Let's design a reader. That software-based radio technology is great technology. Put some antennas, let's design tags, let's put tags on things. Well, beyond Walmart, who kind of was doing this as an experiment, you go talk to other companies and they're kind of, so what problem are you really solving? You know, the readers are only good for about, you know, a certain distance of, you know, to read things. They're not 100%. You know, the tags are coming off the line, they're not 100%. So you're not reading 100% of the tags. If you put them on liquids, you really can't read them because it'll attenuate the signal. If you put it on metal, it takes that antenna and basically makes the entire metal surface an antenna, so you can't really read cans of soda. Once you get it into Walmart, you'll collect a little bit of data, but that data never really got fed back to the suppliers, so Procter & Gamble is putting all these tags on their boxes and an added expense, and they're not really getting any benefit of it. So it was really kind of one of these technologies that was really interesting, and it was a cool technology, but it didn't solve a problem. We just kind of pushed it out in the market, and it never really kind of took hold. I think the next one is with electronic paper, electronic displays. Great idea, as I said, probably one of the coolest technologies I've ever seen in my life, just phenomenal. And the idea was creating electronic papers down the road that would be flexible, and you could load your New York Times and you take it with you and you can read, which is a neat vision, I think. But one of the products that we came out with was, let's take this technology and where it's at with what it can do, and let's make an e-book. So let's make an electronic device that you can download books on and take with you and read. Again, what's the need? What's the problem that you're solving? You know, people like books. There's studies that people like to carry a book. They like the tactile feel of turning a page. They like the sound of that page. People aren't carrying 5 books with them typically when they travel anyway, maybe 1 or 2. So it was really, what is the fundamental need or problem? We have a technology, so let's make an e-book. It's kind of like on the steps, on the paths, on the way to the electronic paper. So, you know, these are kind of the ways that it's more product out, it's more push. It's a cool technology, so let's just push it out there and see if it sticks. As opposed to market in, and here are a couple of examples, again with the same kind of technology, but really kind of went out and said, what are the problems, and let's try to solve the problems. RFID, probably a lot of people in here have FastPass. It's a great application for RFID, solves some problems. Traffic problems, automates it, gets traffic flow going. Phenomenal way to define a problem, take a technology, and go out and deliver a product. The next one on the electronic displays, there's a huge fundamental problem with large area signs in the industry, especially in the transportation industry, where today, not so much in the United States, but if you travel abroad, you'll see these signs that are these flip signs, where how you hear the signs flipping, and all of a sudden it'll pop up and it'll tell you what the gauge is in the airlines. There's a problem with those. Very heavy, very expensive, very high maintenance. They break, a lot of power. So there's a fundamental problem with large area signs, that kind of sign, and then also the signs that are in trains and buses, hard to read, hard to power. So fundamental problems, fundamental need. So basically we took that fundamental problem and need and took some technology that we had and targeted that technology to solve that need. So now you have a display, electronic phoretic display, that's very thin, very lightweight, very low power, because it's electronic, so that you pop the image up and then you take the power away and it stays. Low cost, and easy to maintain. So there's a great example of, here's a problem, technology, let's target that technology to where you can solve the problem. So the idea here is that I've been involved with so many different companies and technologies, and the ones that really are successful are the ones where you, as David said, you define a need and you target that technology to something that has a need. So once you have that, you've kind of figured out the idea, you've figured out the need, which is 75% of the way there. And as David said, if you have a great idea and you're an entrepreneur, you're probably going to find the money. So that is the most important part. But then it kind of gets a little bit mechanical. But the idea here then is, when you have that, you have to identify your lead customers, identify some companies that you can go out, run some of these ideas by, and collect some information, feedback on what your idea is all about. And the notion that was set up at Analog Devices, which I still think is a great visual, is the swimming in the fishbowl. And the idea there is, you can kind of get an idea of a goldfish's life by kind of walking around the fishbowl, kind of watching that goldfish, get an idea. You get a much better idea of what that goldfish's life is like if you actually jump into the fishbowl and swim around with that fish. So this is really swimming in the fishbowl. So identifying that lead customer, identifying the potential market, the potential important customers that will be driving that technology or the acceptance of it, and going out and visiting these people. And the idea here is not necessarily at this point going out with a data sheet and saying, here's my great idea, here's my data sheet, what do you think? That's one way to do it, but that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is sitting down with a customer that you know, the sign customer. There was a company in Germany called Basler that was one of our lead customers. Sitting down